Welcome to Fantasy Fanline.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Fantasy Fanline, the fantasy football call-in show putting you on the air with industry experts each and every week of the season. I'm your host, Greg Scalera, and I'm here with my co-host with the most, Saunch Value. Mr. Value, happy December. Welcome back, brother. And you are muted.
My apologies, Greg. Happy December, man. I've been feeling a little under the weather this week. Currently doing a COVID test as we speak.
Wow. So we'll get some live results on air.
Yeah. Well, I did have it later last week for the third time. So I'm just doing a test right now. Hopefully it's all gone.
You said last week you had it? And you're seeing if it left?
Yeah, they say 5 days now. So
what a champion. Saunch Value, recently afflicted by COVID-19, here on the show, bringing our knowledge to you all today in this crucial time for fantasy football as we inch closer to fantasy playoffs. Not even COVID-19 can keep Saunch from helping our dear listeners.
Never that. You'll hear it in my voice, but not in my passion. You won't see a difference.
I respect that. Well, it's good to be back, man. We were off last weekend for the Thanksgiving holiday. Spent some time with family and friends. How was your holiday, man? You do anything fun besides watch a lot of football?
It was awesome. Damn shame my Giants couldn't get it done. I don't want to be the guy to go and blame the refs, but there were quite a few BS calls in that game. Just saying.
As a Bears fan, that's all I've been doing this year. So you're welcome to join the party.
Yeah, screw it. The refs blew it.
Nice rhyme. So, on behalf of me and Saunch Value the Poet, we welcome you back to our broadcast here. We are a weekly call-in show. We feature experts from around the fantasy football industry to take your calls and answer your questions live on the air. We take everything from start-sit questions to trade questions. Well, not anymore since most of the trade deadlines have passed, but sometimes people go the whole year without a deadline. So if you still have trade questions, we'll help you out with that. Rest of season value questions and more. We got a couple of Instagram questions today that aren't going to make it onto the show because they are not about things that we talk about. If you're listening, you know who you are. Saunch, I'll tell you off the air. But ordinarily, you can visit our website, fantasyfanline.com, to submit mailbag questions or find us on social media at Fantasy Fanline on pretty much any platform. Wherever you want to send us a question, we'll take it. We're also a call-in show, so for the next hour, 618-FANLINE, our phone line is open. If you want to join us on the air and chat about your team, get some customized advice, we're happy to help you and have you on the show. If you're watching us now on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, where we stream live every 2 p.m. Eastern Time on Saturdays, you can also leave a comment where you're watching, and we'll see it here, and we can address it if it's a question, or if you just want to say hi and let us know you're out there and you're alive and listening. We'd be happy to talk to you. Every episode is also available in audio format the following day after each broadcast, so Sunday morning, on your favorite podcast platforms. So please subscribe to us wherever you're watching us on any of the multiple platforms where we're available. It does leave it makes a big difference in terms of numbers and things and helping people find our show so that we can answer more questions on the air for people like you. I think I covered everything. Oh, except for the most important part. This show is presented by our sponsors over at patreon.com/fantasyfanline. We have an ever-growing community. The fantasy fanatics over there help keep this independent show running. And, we'll shout them out each and every week. We have 3 going strong right now. Alan Wu, the OG, Josh Green, and John Lanfranca, our supporters. Thank you guys so much. Well, 2 out of 3 of you. I need to address something here. Josh Green, one of our beloved supporters, wrote into this show 2 weeks ago. I play in a league with him. He made a bet against me live on the air, Saunch. I'm sure you remember this. You were quite excited about it when it happened. He bet, we had a head-to-head match last week, and the terms were that the loser needed to wear an article of clothing from their rival the following week. So we played each other last weekend. I came out. I had a good week. My team came out, put up a respectable 150 points. It was looking good. Josh boomed me. I'm not going to lie. He came out and his team had a day. I didn't check the final score, but it had to be about 200 points from his team. So I took the L, as I kind of had a feeling I would. I thought long and hard about how to do this today. I'm a Bears fan. Everybody watching this show knows that. We are playing the Packers this weekend. And I was like, do I come on with like a Packers sock? Because the stipulation was an article of Packers clothing. And I was like, you know what? I'm not going to weasel out of it that way. You know, he's expecting a Packers shirt. He's expecting an Aaron Rodgers shirt. I'm wearing an Aaron Rodgers shirt today. Saunch, do you want to see it?
Hell yeah, I want to see it.
All right. For those of you listening on our podcast, you have to go to youtube.com/ at Fantasy Fanline is our new URL where you can see this live in action. Boom.
Oh, it counts.
What do you think? Totally counts, right?
It's the best you could have done for as a Bears fan, I think.
So for those of you who can't see it and are listening to our podcast, this is a shirt that I found on eBay that is a screen print of that stupid Aaron Rodgers picture where he's laying on the ground with his face mask over his nose. He looks like an idiot. It's technically a Packers shirt. It's technically an Aaron Rodgers shirt. Is it the spirit of the bet? No, because the spirit of the bet was to piss me off. And you know what, Josh? I fulfilled the terms of the bet. Next time you need to be more specific. I hope you are happy, though, because I'm at least wearing green and yellow. And I feel like I'm allergic to it. Like, it's making my skin itch. My throat's starting to close up because I'm wearing Packers colors. But at least I'm wearing a shirt where Aaron Rodgers looks as stupid as I believe him to be in real life. I wish you could see it better. I might have to sit backwards like this the whole show. Can you hear me back here?
Yeah, you can still hear you. Pick it up. You should just move up.
I know.
Already showed it.
For the sake of the show, I'll show it again at the midpoint of the show and then at the end. So for people who missed it and are just tuning in, they're like, oh my God, Greg's wearing a Packers shirt. I need them to know that it's this Packers shirt specifically.
Speaking of the Bears, you wanna just jump right into some football talk? They're saying your boy Fields looking like he's gonna go. Are we confident rolling him out weeks after he dislocated his shoulder?
You know, if they're playing him, I feel like he's at a low risk for re-injury. You know, the majority of Fields' fantasy value comes from his legs, and it wasn't a lower body injury. So if he was out there on like a bum ankle and he was toughing it out, I'd be like, well, we're probably not going to see him do what he does best. But, you know, it's a shoulder injury. Yeah, he might be less inclined to want to take hits and land on that shoulder again, but it's not like it's going to keep him from throwing the ball. They don't throw a lot anyway. The Bears are the lowest passing team in the league in terms of volume. So if he's going to go out there and keep running, I'm not afraid to play Fields this week. How do you feel about it?
I think I'm going to roll him out over Dak in the league I do have him in. How can you not after what he's done for you when he's in? Do they finally beat the Pack, though, is the question. Or is Rodgers going to just go into the crowd, start yelling, I own you?
So, look, Fields and Rodgers were both questionable with injuries leading into this week, and it looks like they're both playing.
Love, right?
It might be, but I don't think it's going to be. And I'm really pulling for it to be Rodgers because I want his last game as a Packer against the Bears, which I think this will be. I want him to come out, and I want us to beat him, and I want that to be the legacy. I want this to be like the passing of the torch in the NFC North, because there's a world where that happens, and if it's ever going to happen, it's right now with the state of that Packers team and the way they're playing this year and just the deficiency of offensive weapons and the way that Rodgers' play has kind of trailed off. I think it's his thumb that's been a problem. So, look, if we came out and we beat Jordan Love, I'd be excited, but we would never really have that. Like, Packers fans would still be able to say, well, you couldn't do it with Rodgers, and I'd be like, you're right, you know?
So I got to cover that kid, Christian Watson. He ended up being pretty damn good, huh?
Yeah, he's not bad, Saunch. He's all right. And we have some questions about him later, but I mean, it's going to be an interesting game. Do I realistically think the Bears are going to win? No, probably not. Because as good as that offense has looked with Fields, the defense has looked correspondingly bad. So I think Rodgers probably finds a way, unfortunately, to get it done, and I'm going to have to burn this shirt. I thought about sending it back, like wearing it on the show and then mailing it back, but once I saw it in person, I was like, I'm keeping this, and I'm going to wear it as like a pajama shirt or something.
I have a live update. Apparently the COVID is gone.
The COVID is gone. Rejoice, Fantasy Fanline listeners. Saunch is healthy.
I'm going to do a retest after this. Not to get off topic, but it's my girlfriend's sister's wedding today.
Big day.
all week. I'm just like, I'm gonna miss this. She's gonna hate me. She's gonna freaking hate me. I'm not gonna go and get everyone sick. I'm not that a-hole to do that. But today
So this
I'm
is
like,
a really important COVID test that just
this
happened
is
live on
like,
the air here.
yeah, I'm gonna do another one after and double check because I don't even trust these things. But I feel better. Uh, hopefully
Good, man.
hopefully I'll be there.
Shout out to your COVID. See you later. Shout out to your girlfriend's sister on her wedding day. Happy wedding day. I know her very well. I don't know if we want to shout out names on the show, but very excited for that whole family. Without further ado, I mean, let's talk some more football. We have like I said, a mailbag at fantasyfanline.com. You can go there anytime during the week, ask us questions. We'll take them on the air, just like Barry in New York did. He wants to know, first of all, Barry comes in saying, I got a playoff spot locked up. Dude, congratulations, Barry. I hope that our show helped you get there. What playoff defenses should I start stashing? So, this is an interesting question because I took a look and I feel like the best plays during the fantasy playoffs are probably not widely available. So I don't know that it's actionable advice to say, the Ravens, if you could get them, but you can't get them unless you already have them. You probably would have had to pick them up off their bye a couple of weeks ago. But they have a great schedule in the playoffs. They've been playing out of their mind on defense. So if you have them, hold them, ride them through the playoffs. Other than that, like the Chiefs have had a pretty solid stretch of production. That was one of yours?
Chiefs are interesting. Week 15 at Houston.
Mm-hmm.
Week 16, I think.
Seattle.
Yeah, that one's a little rough. But then in at home against Denver's anemic offense in the championship game.
Yeah, they actually get Denver twice in those last 4 weeks, so they get them in week 14 too. So if you're in like a situation, I mean, not Barry's situation here because he's already got a spot locked up, but for those of you looking at your schedule ahead and saying every win counts from here to playoffs, Denver in weeks 14 and 17 is pretty nice for Kansas City, who are the DST 16 overall right now, so they've been serviceable. I think that's probably the best combination of defensive talent and just strength of schedule. Like the Chargers and the Browns have the best schedules on paper, but their defenses have stunk. Like their matchups are great through the playoffs, but can you risk it? Maybe the Chargers. I don't know.
Yeah, all the defenses floating out there by now are nothing special. But if Kansas City is still out there and you're guaranteed a playoff run, they're worth the scoop, I think.
Chiefs are 46% rostered right now, so there's a chance. Also, surprisingly, the Jets are 35% rostered. They've been a great fantasy defense. They get the Lions and the Jaguars at home. Yeah. In weeks 15 and 16.
In every league I'm in. So.
Me too, but according to the numbers, I checked Sleeper for this. Yeah, 35% rostered. They have to play Seattle on the road for the championship week, so you might not want to play them in week 17, but Lions and Jags home games in New Jersey before that, so some opportunities there. Lions aren't as appetizing as they used to be, but still an opportunity to make some plays against Jared Goff. Anyone you want to add to that list?
That's about it. I'm looking at all my free agents right now as far as defense, and nothing really pops out. Hopefully by now you have a solid starter and you can maybe snag Kansas City for the good matchups with your starting defense.
Yeah, pretty slim pickings at this point. Did I ever tell you when I first started playing fantasy football with a group of friends of mine and we had no idea what we were doing? Our league had 2 defenses. We had to start 2 defenses every week. Did I ever tell you that?
That sounds horrible.
It was, I started playing and I was like, this game sucks. And then as soon as we got rid of the second defense, I was like, yo, I love fantasy football. It made such a big difference. I mean, you can make a case for completely eliminating defenses from your roster construction and your league format, depending on, what you like. But I can't find an argument for 2 defenses. I would never, ever do that again. We also had a head coach position on the team. Thank you, ESPN, for
that. I've done. Where if they win, you get 10 points.
Yeah, I thought that was okay. That was kind of fun.
It's better than 2 defenses.
It is much better than 2 defenses. Jessica in Colorado, Saunch, I'm going to let you take this one first before I weigh in on it, but I have a feeling I know what you're going to say. Wants to know if she should start Deshaun Watson, who is playing his first game in over 700 days this weekend, or Derek Carr this week.
I think I'm rolling Watson, like in that game against Houston. I don't feel good about it, but over Carr, I think I feel safe for rolling Watson. I think, the league knew what they were doing, putting his first game back against Houston. It's must-see TV, so they think. And I think he's due for a really good game to come back, unfortunately.
It's certainly going to get a lot of attention. I don't know if I have the stomach to do it. Like I said, he hasn't played a game in over 700 days. You can't even really like project what he did last time he was on the field because it was a different team. And I feel like we need to learn our lesson with Russell Wilson this year. Kind of just assuming that a good quarterback is going to translate to a seemingly good on paper offensive situation. You never know what the offense is going to look like under a different quarterback. And it always depends on your other option. I think Derek Carr has been on a hot streak relative to his usual fantasy output. 18 plus fantasy points in the past 4 weeks straight, 20 plus in the past 2 weeks straight. He's got a good matchup against the Chargers. I think if it was somebody that I was less certain about, I would probably lean Watson, but Derek Carr's been playing good.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna give him the nod here. Yeah.
I'm gonna change my pick. Looking at his stats from the last 3 weeks, put on almost 30 points in Seattle against the Chargers. Jacobs is apparently a little banged up. He's they're gonna have to lean on him.
He's sore from carrying that team on his back.
Thinking about it on air. Oh man, that guy's. We all missed out on him. I think I said on one of the shows though he was a good value pick. So
I'll go back and dig that up for the record.
I'll take credit for that, but I changed my mind. I'm gonna roll Carr until Watson shows you can be elite like he used to.
There you go, Jessica in Colorado. Thanks for writing in. I hope Derek Carr served you well this week. And here we go. Here he is, ladies and gentlemen. Patreon supporter Josh Green writing in from YouTube. Wow, can't believe a Bears fan would wear Packers gear. Such a disgrace to Justin Fields showing his heart playing hurt. First of all, Justin Fields is showing his heart playing hurt, and I appreciate the sentiment there. Josh missed, I assume, the opening minutes of the show where I showed this shirt in all of its glory. Josh, congratulations on your win. Thanks for joining us here at the 17-ish minute mark of the show, where I will show you this shirt once again in all of its glory. It won't be the last time that I show this shirt on the air on this show. Here it is, Josh, the fruits of your bet. It is an Aaron Rodgers shirt. It is a Packers shirt. You did not say what kind of Packers shirt it had to be, so here's Aaron Rodgers looking like a doofus on my shirt. And it was really the only one that I could find and wear without hating myself and spending all the money in therapy. And we just don't have a big enough Patreon support group yet to fund my therapy that would have to result from me wearing an actual jersey. So there you go. As expected, nicely done. Thank you, sir. Thank you. I hope you're happy with it, and I hope it satisfies the terms of our bet. And call it a loophole if you want, but I'm pretty proud of it. Tyler in New Jersey writes in on our mailbag. At this point, who is next year's 101 overall pick? Doesn't feel like anyone is running away with it. And, the fans who are listening to this show right now, I'd be curious what you all think if you want to weigh in the comments, because this was a hard one for me. I kind of agree with Tyler. There's no clear-cut answer. Somebody kind of asked this early in the season. They were like, if you had to redo the draft right now, who would you pick 1 overall? And it was pretty easily Saquon at the time, but I feel like he's cooled off. Saunch, who came to mind for this question?
I still think you could easily say Saquon. I like Kenneth Walker. I don't know if I'd put him 1.1, but
he's going to be a first rounder for sure.
Yeah, I'm going to put him in that top 5 next year, early. Like that guy is killing it. Just watching him run, just like I want him on my teams next year. Wish I got more shares this year, but you live and you learn. I like Kenneth Walker. I also think, it sucks he got hurt, but the other rookie from this year, Breece Hall, will be in that top pick discussion next year.
Totally.
McCaffrey will still be there, even with all the injuries. Like, he's never going to leave until you see him physically fall off. If it's PPR, Jefferson, Cup, guys like that, easily. I won't be mad.
I was going to ask if it's time to start discussing that, maybe even Diggs. Can you make the case for a 101 wide receiver in full PPR?
I did it in one league this year, and I'm doing pretty damn good in it. I took Jefferson because I wanted to share.
101? Wow.
101.
Yeah, I feel like the majority of people who went running back heavy early this year are regretting it, but that pendulum swings so much every year that it's hard to point to recent trends and say, well, this is the game of football now. It's kind of just and I'm sure there's data out there to actually support trends as far as bust rates go for each position in the first round, but the 101 pick, you're not necessarily betting on a player to finish exactly as the top overall scorer next year, right? You're betting on the most reliable option for a high floor and a high ceiling. It's the person who could win you the league, but will also not bust. So wide receivers have seemed to fall more into that category this year. I agree that I think you could still make the case for Saquon, maybe McCaffrey on the 49ers, depending on how that running back room shakes out next year. Not that he's going to be splitting carries with anybody, but, I wouldn't blame them for trying to keep him healthy and kind of delegating some of that work to guys like Elijah Mitchell. But, Austin Eckler, I think, is in the conversation for full PPR. He's been a monster after a slow start. The current running back one overall, you know who it is? You probably do.
Is it Nick Chubb still?
Nope. Josh Jacobs.
He moved his way to one.
He's the number one overall. He's having the best year of his life. He's a free agent next season. Even if he resigns, you don't feel confident like betting on a repeat, right? Like he's not a top 5 pick no matter where he finishes this year.
I'm not sure. He's been running crazy. I think he has something to prove. He wants that contract, and he's going to make the Raiders pay up if they want to keep him.
It's interesting because Jonathan Taylor comes out last year and finishes 1 overall, and I feel like people were more inclined to take him number 1 overall this year because he was new and he didn't have a history of finishing lower. But Josh Jacobs does. Like this is his 4th, 5th year in the league, and he's never looked like this. So people are more inclined to look at it and be like, that's probably a fluke, right?
4th year. He's a Bama running back. You got to give him something.
Yeah,
they're
you're
built
right.
Different.
I think maybe the last name you can kind of look at, you just mentioned it, is Nick Chubb, who's been a monster this year. If Kareem Hunt isn't on the team next year, or even just if he's as uninvolved as he has been in their plan this year, sky's kind of the limit for Chubb, right?
Yeah. Threw everyone off guard. Everyone thought Hunt would be more involved. That's not the case. Nick Chubb, no matter the matchups, he gets it done every week.
Yeah, and it's going to depend. It's going to depend a lot on how this offense looks with Deshaun Watson over the final third of our season here. If they come out and start lighting the league on fire, which is possible, people are going to want to take that hyper talented bell cow back on a good offense with a good quarterback and some receiving weapons. Like you could paint that picture for Chubb. So it's going to be an interesting end of the year here. I think how people do around playoffs dictates a lot of how people feel going into the offseason on players. Call it recency bias, call it putting some extra value on the most important part of the fantasy season. But, there's a world where Saquon doesn't produce the rest of the way, CMC doesn't produce, and people forget how good they've been over the course of the season and just look at a strong close from Chubb. So really to answer your question, Tyler, I don't think anyone has run away with it at this point, but that could change in another 5-6 weeks. There's still a lot of football left. So at this point for me, ultimately, it's Justin Fields. No, I'm just kidding. I think it's probably still Saquon for me. If I had to pick, like gun to my head in standard and half PPR, full PPR, Eckler or Justin Jefferson.
No need to worry right now. Let's make it through this year.
Yeah, but it's a fun hypothetical. Appreciate the question. Yeah. Let's keep it moving. And just a reminder, we are a call-in show. We have our phone line is open, 618 Fanline. If you want to pick up the old cell phone, give us a dial. We will chat with you live on the air. Chuck in Texas says, crazy question, but I don't think it is that crazy of a question. He wants to know if he should start Rachaad White over Alvin Kamara in a half PPR league. He says he really needs a W this week. So do a lot of people. This is a crucial time of the year where every win and loss counts towards your race for the playoffs. Let's pull up some matchups here.
They play each other.
They play each other. Great. Tampa Bay versus New Orleans. Easy peasy. Alvin Kamara's last 4 weeks in half PPR. The running back 23, 36, 19, and 51. Saunch, how does that make you feel?
Yeah, and a couple weeks ago I said I wouldn't be caught dead benching a guy like Alvin Kamara. And then after I say that, he has one of the worst stretches of his career. It's not crazy. Rachaad White's finding a groove. I personally am not doing it. I'm still gonna ride or die with my AK. But I'm not mad at you if you want to play Rachaad White over Kamara, but I don't think I'm gonna do it personally.
Yeah, I get the question. I mean, Kamara fumbled twice last week. One of them was near the goal line. It's hard to come out of a game like that and not make emotional decisions about it and be reactionary. But even just beyond that, like his volume has really fallen off. His carries and targets have been way down over the last 4 weeks for whatever reason. Call it the Andy Dalton effect, if you will. But they're facing a tough defense this week with another week of Dalton. So I don't really know what we expect to change. I would expect more of the same. If you play Kamara, you're really just betting on a player with elite talent to find a way to get it done, which, you know, he has done in the past. He's been an efficiency guy before on a low volume of touches, but that was, you know, with Drew Brees, and Andy Dalton is not Drew Brees. He's not even Jameis Winston. So I would expect more tough sledding for Kamara. Meanwhile, Rachaad White, I mean,
9 catches last week. Yeah.
Opposite trajectory of Kamara, really. He's taken over the backfield. He's getting 20-plus opportunities each of the past 2 games. He has a slightly less tough matchup, but I think he's less important to his offense, right? He's on a team where there's weapons everywhere, and they can come in Tampa Bay and win this game without really leaning on Rachaad White in a way that I don't think New Orleans can do and exclude Kamara. So, you know, I'll give Kamara the tiebreaker for talent and for role in his offense, but it really wouldn't surprise me at all if he busts. And I think Rachaad White has a much higher floor because I don't think he disappears. I think worst case scenario, he gets a bunch of carries between the 20s. He gets, 60, 80 scoreless yards. He gives you 8 points, which is not going to kill you. Kamara could come out and kill you in a tough matchup.
Yeah, he's been playing good, Rachaad White. It's a tough question.
It is. The more I talk through it, the more I think I would probably play Rachaad White this week, which is nuts. But
it was his first monster. I won't even say monster. Just under 20 points in PPR, I think. But you have to ride the hot hand. And it looks like
Kamara hasn't done that in over a month. So
since his crazy game week 8 against the Raiders, but
I think we might just be seeing a change in the offensive scheme over there, kind of adjusting to Andy Dalton and whatever strengths they can find in him in New Orleans. And you really don't want to get too tethered to big names in fantasy football. And, I get the sentiment of start your studs, but I also understand the flip side of that where they say stay water, stay, flexible. And I think that if you really paid attention to recent trends and kind of make projections based on the way those trends have been going, you have to start Rachaad White here. And it's hard and it sucks and it's going to feel real bad if Kamara has a 30-point game on your bench. But, most likely outcome is Kamara comes out and puts up another kind of, 5-6 middling week and Rachaad White gets closer to 10 and, 12. I don't know, man. You can't do it? All right.
Yeah.
So Saunch says Kamara, but he feels bad about it. I say Rachaad White, but I'm scared about it. I don't think there's really a clear answer here. But if your question is, should I start Rachaad White over Kamara? I don't think
any of these guys are gonna win you your week this week.
Yeah, I just talked in circles about it for literally 5 minutes here. I'm starting Rachaad White. Saunchi's starting Kamara. I think you could make a case for Rachaad White, and I think the case for Kamara is just he's a stud, and the team needs him if they're going to win this game. And, New Orleans has traditionally had Tom Brady's number. I think he beat them once earlier this year for the first time in years. But I'm still going Rachaad White here. I think he's got a clear path to success.
It'll be interesting to watch. We'll see. Yeah. We'll see what happens.
Josh checking back in on YouTube saying he's issuing a DFS open challenge on DraftKings. Any takers? I'm not really a DFS guy. Saunch, are you still in that game?
Yeah, but I don't play on DraftKings.
FanDuel man, company man. I respect
Yeah.
that. Well, if any of our listeners want to connect with Josh over the next 30 minutes while we're on the air, you can leave a comment here. And, you could take this open challenge from Josh. I personally, in my experience, have found taking challenges from Josh to not be beneficial to my own well-being, but maybe some of you out there will have better luck. I've lost 2 bets against Josh this year. The first one resulted in me impersonating Pat McAfee earlier in the season, if you missed that. And the second one, here I am in this stupid Aaron Rodgers shirt with his stupid face looking stupid. So that could be you. Josh weighing in on the Rachaad White question, projecting Kamara to have less than 11 points PPR, White 10 to 15. Josh, I hope you're right because it would kind of support my argument there. I'm starting Rachaad White in that situation. Let's keep it rolling, Saunch. How you feeling? You good?
Feeling all right, man.
Yeah, I know you're under the weather. We're 30 minutes in. Are you fading? Still going strong? Yeah.
Feeling better than I was working through it, so...
Yeah, I'd imagine. RJ in Virginia wants to know where we think Odell Beckham goes and how it will affect the guys on his new team. So there was a report a couple hours before the show that there's some doubt about his health, and around the league, people don't think that he's going to be able to contribute this year, I guess from his injury late in the season last year. So this question might be moot. He might not go anywhere, and if he does, he might not end up playing. But I mean, the popular report is that he's going to the Cowboys. Saunch, do you have any other theories where he might end up? Thinking maybe he goes back to New York, play with the Giants?
Yeah, he already visited him. Apparently the visit went well. I don't even know. I love Odell. Love what he's done for us. I don't even know if I want him at this point in his career after all these big injuries to bounce back from.
Yeah.
I mean, but at this point with our receiver room, I would take that chance. I would definitely take the chance.
Yeah, I think he could probably still contribute a little more than like Darius Slayton at this point in his career. Who else is healthy over there still?
Or if anything, open up more for those guys. Like, I don't know, Richie James.
Richie James. Shepard's gone, right?
Shepard, yeah, he's been hurt.
Galladay, if he ever was there, is gone. The ghost of Kenny Galladay.
I don't even bring him up anymore.
So if he goes to New York, he's probably de facto maybe the wide receiver 1B, 1A on that team.
He'd be the one.
The one, yeah.
He'd have to be.
So what does that mean in a Daniel Jones offense? Is he a top 24 guy?
And I wouldn't be too happy about him for fantasy.
Okay.
I'm strict. I think it'd be good for the team for a push since we're still in the playoffs. The playoff hunt, and with a bunch of big division matchups coming on. But as you said, like no one's seen him play. Who knows if he could even play right now?
Yeah.
It's a big question mark to me. I'm not even going to take a guess on this.
Okay.
Wait and see approach. I think it would be a good fit in Dallas with guys like Lamb and Gallup there, where he doesn't get all that crazy attention coming in like he would if he went to the Giants. Like if he went to the Cowboys, you still got to cover the guys who are healthy and are good receivers like Lamb and Gallup, and then throw OBJ in there. And like that's I would hate to see him in the Cowboys uniform, but I think that is a great fit for him.
I think so too. I think he's more suited to be in a support role on a team like that. I've been playing too much Overwatch, and I'm thinking of things in terms of support and tank. But look, he was the wide receiver 21 overall over the last 7 games of last year with the Rams, so he was still contributing for fantasy. And during that time, Cooper Kupp was still the wide receiver 1 overall. Stafford was QB 9. Tyler Higbee was down at tight end 14. So if you're talking about how it's going to affect the guys on the Cowboys, assuming OBJ can still go, I think it's bad news for Michael Gallup. The appeal of Gallup, besides the fact that he is or was a talented player, we haven't seen much of it this year, but it's been having a significant role in a good offense. That was the sell for Gallup. So if OBJ comes in, is that role still significant for Gallup? Probably not. It's great news for Dak. Doesn't concern me for CeeDee Lamb. I mean, we saw Cooper Kupp certainly still succeed despite Odell Beckham being in town last season. But Beckham, at best, is an NFL wide receiver, too, at this point. So, like you said, I think he needs to go somewhere where he's not the focal point. Dalton Schultz on the Cowboys is a lot more involved in that offense than Tyler Higbee ever was at any point last season before Beckham came to town. So it's not like, OBJ came in and was stealing looks from the tight end. I just think it's a different role in Dallas. So I think it probably hurts Gallup the most, helps Dak, doesn't really affect CeeDee Lamb, probably not Dalton Schultz either. Does that all sound about right?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there.
Thank you. That's why I keep you around. All right, let's move along. Ed in New Jersey, in a full PPR league, wants to know if we would start Isaiah Pacheco or Samaje Perine if Mixon doesn't play this week. Interesting question here. Battle of the waiver wire pickups. It's the Chiefs versus Bengals, so they play each other. Saunch, what do you make of this situation?
If Mixon's out, I'm rolling Perine after his last 2 games with Mixon hurt. You just got to keep that hot hand. He had 2 really nice games. I know Pacheco's been good too, but they have other backs they like to use, McKinnon.
Yeah. They have some backs they don't like to use too.
Yeah. I just trust the Bengals running the ball more than the Chiefs, and that's pretty much. And if Mixon's hurt, I'm rolling Perine here.
Yeah, that's not to say that the Bengals offense is better than the Chiefs offense by any means, but that running back role on the Bengals is a lot more valuable for fantasy than the running back role on the Chiefs. And Perine, like you said, has smashed with Mixon out. He's been a top 10 running back both weeks. Overall running back 2 and 10. Double-digit carries both weeks, averaging 5.5 targets. Ed said this is a full PPR league, so big advantage in that department. Jamar Chase might come back, take some of those scoring opportunities away, but he might not, or he might come back slow. So that doesn't really scare me off of Perine's scoring opportunities. Pacheco's volume has been great, 15 plus carries in each of the past 3 weeks, but he's not getting any passing work. Still a valuable running role, but it's not as efficient as you need to be a fantasy football contributor over a guy like Samaje Perine, who effectively has been Joe Mixon, right? Like we haven't seen really any drop off in fantasy production from Mixon to Perine. So you're looking at, the past couple weeks with Pacheco, 82 scoreless yards, 107 scoreless yards, and 69 and a touchdown. So what is that? Reliable, like mid running back 2, whereas Perine has the upside of a top 10 guy, as we've seen 2 weeks in a row. So it's Perine. All this to say, I just wanted to show my math.
Math checks out, and looks like Josh wants to make a little side bet here.
Oh, Saunch, tread carefully, my man. Josh writing in saying, I need a chance to bet Saunch. I say Commanders win. I will give you 2.5 points. You lose, you give a 30-second Cowboys promo praising them as Super Bowl contenders, which truthfully they are. It's just a matter of can we get Saunch to say it on air. If you win, I raised the Patreon tier by 1 tier. So worth mentioning while we're talking about it, Patreon, you could support us for as little as $1 a month. You get a whole bunch of exclusive perks over there. You help an independent show. There's tiers of $1, $5, $10, etc. They pay for all of our expenses for this show. Saunch, what do you think, man? I've been rambling to give you a chance to think about it as you look at me sitting here in this Packers shirt, knowing that it's the fault of this man. What do you say?
2.5 points at MetLife. Huge game. Probably our biggest game in 6+ years. You're on, Josh. You're on.
There you have it. Bet has been made live on the air. It's official. I knew you were going to say yes to this because Saunch is a gambling man, and it makes watching games a lot more fun, and especially a big game like this, big divisional game with a lot of implications for the postseason. How are you going to not make it as fun as possible? So as I watch this game, I'll be thinking of you two and laughing to myself. This is going to be fun. Now, are you taking this just for the spirit of it, or do you really think you got a good shot here?
I think, why not? We're at home. We won games no one gave us a chance to win. I mean, it's Washington. It's not like we beat up on tennis. It was earlier in the year, but we beat teams way better than Washington. And yeah, easy money. Thanks, Josh. Cheers.
All right. See what happens. We'll check in next week on the show and recap how it went. Next week we will be back. I'll mention this again at the end, but we're back next week with Marvin Eloquent of the Fantasy Footballers staff writers, and that's gonna be a fun one. I look forward to seeing how this shakes out. Meanwhile, August in California is wondering if he should play Chase Claypool with Darnell Mooney out or Drake London in a great matchup. So August, thanks for kind of laying this out for us and doing half of our work for us so that I don't have to mention that Mooney is out for the season with an ankle injury and that Drake London is playing against the Steelers, who are currently giving up the most fantasy points to wide receivers in football. Saunch, what do you think?
So that means that Alexander is going to be on Claypool. He's technically your one.
Yeah, I basically, I'm looking at my notes and I wrote out a whole paragraph about Claypool's upside as the number one target in that offense. He's more of a big play guy. He's a red zone threat. Mooney's out for the year, but he'll be with Jair Alexander all day. So
yeah, I'm leaning Drake London. I'm not crazy about either of these guys this week, but if these are your only two choices, I'm going to roll with the rookie.
Yeah, London's got a much better matchup. There's nobody like Jair Alexander on that team. There's a narrative pathway for Claypool, right, with Fields coming back, and Claypool's got a few weeks in the system now where he could be really productive. It's a low passing volume offense. We talk about it every week with the Bears. They run the ball more than anybody. They throw it less than everybody. And Mooney, people looked at him as the one on that offense this year, but he's really reliant, I think, on volume. He's a possession receiver. Even though he's really fast, he could burn you downfield, but that's not how they use him. Claypool, they just spent up to bring him in. I feel like they are going to be more incentivized to use him as like an alpha target on that team. I just don't think he beats Jair Alexander this week. So I like Claypool rest of season. Like is a strong word, but I think that he's going to be better than he has been the last few weeks.
Maybe in flex consideration.
Yes, maybe in flex consideration. Drake London, should theoretically be the number one target in Atlanta now that Kyle Pitts is out, right? Like these guys both lost the receiver ahead of him. But that situation last week only brought him 2 catches, 4 targets for 29 yards because naturally Olamide Zaccheaus doubled his target share, just like we all expected. So I don't really know what Arthur Smith is doing over there, but he's not really been using Drake London. So I don't love either of these guys this week, but if I have to bet on one of them to break off a big play, it's Drake London against the soft secondary in Pittsburgh.
Better hope he finds the end zone. I'm not.
Better hope he finds the end zone. Yeah.
Yeah.
Shout out to a fellow Greg in North Carolina writing in, and he's one of those Gregs with 3 G's in his name, and I bet he has the same problem I do, where whenever somebody writes him an email, like they spell it the other way, and like that pisses me off when I write to somebody first, and like it's in my email signature, and you can see what my name is and how it's spelled, and then you write back, you get it wrong anyway. Steve, do you get a lot of PHs?
No.
Yeah.
I don't have that issue.
Greg wants to know if he should flex Latavius Murray or Darius Slayton in full PPR.
Full PPR, I'm going with the guy catching passes. Like, it's not sexy, but I'm going Darius Slayton. He's questionable with an illness right now. I guess that's what they call COVID now in the NFL. 'Cause I haven't heard it. I haven't heard it pop up all year. It's just like, oh, he has an illness. But
come to think of it, you're right. They used to put out the injury reports with like COVID in parentheses, right? Like when it was like, Darius Slayton ankle, it used to be Darius Slayton COVID. I haven't seen that either. Broncos have the Ravens, I should mention, and the Giants obviously have the Commanders. So you like Slayton this week. He's been really necessary there.
Denver can't move the ball, man. I hate that offense so much. I want nothing to do with it. It's crazy how we were hyping him up early in the year, but
how the mighty have fallen.
Yeah,
dude. If you had told us early on that Latavius Murray would be the bell cow for the Broncos with Russell Wilson throwing the ball, we'd be like, yo, he's going to be a league winner off of waivers. But all of a sudden, he's kind of a volume play on a bad offense, a surprisingly bad offense. But he is a bell cow. So like, I like the floor. He's finished as the running back 12 and 29 the past 2 weeks, double-digit carries, a few targets. So I don't think he really has the ceiling to win you a week. If it's going to be a close matchup or if you're favored to win, I would maybe throw Murray in there for the guaranteed touches. Slayton, like we said, he's questionable to go, but if he plays, I don't think they can afford to not lean on him in the passing game. But the Giants are another really low volume passing offense. They're right up there with the Bears in terms of high rushing volume. They're a top 5 rushing team, bottom 4 throwing team. So he's got a really big slice of a small pie, as we say in the industry. That said, he's playing great when he's on the field. Great PFF metrics, great target share. So not much work in the red zone. I'm looking at his usage right now. So he's going to need a big play to score a touchdown. Full PPR, if I'm going against a juggernaut like a Josh Green team, for example, in fantasy football, I'm probably sliding Slayton in there and hoping that he, kind of goes off and has a big day, because I think he's more likely to do that. But if I just need like 8, 10, 12 points out of a flex spot, I'm probably going Latavius Murray. And I'm going to take the guaranteed touches and hope that he just racks up a lot of yards between the 20s, because he's probably not scoring. He might, but I'd rather bet on Slayton.
The last 2 games against Washington, Slayton has a touchdown.
In each game?
Yep, in his last 2.
Well, there you go. Guaranteed touchdown. You heard it here on Fantasy Fanline.
I never guaranteed it, but I like my numbers.
Yeah, I like paying attention to trends. That's a good stat. So I'm probably conditionally, ultimately here, Greg in North Carolina, Bizarro Greg. To answer your question, I'm flexing Latavius Murray if I think I'm going to win this matchup, but I'm flexing Slayton if I need a boom. It's a good question. These are some tough matchups.
Yeah, you guys are getting tough on us late. Like, our brains hurt this late in the year.
That's what we're here for, though.
Why can't you say like Pat Mahomes or Heineke or something?
I don't think they don't need us to answer that question. But if you do have a Mahomes Heineke question, you're welcome to play in a league with us next season. We will happily take your money. Or you could save it and just donate it to our Patreon. Support our show. Trevor in Pennsylvania wants us to pick 2 for half PPR between Jamal Williams, Garrett Wilson, and Dameon Pierce.
Oh, man.
Interesting batch here. Lions have the Jaguars, so Jamal Williams has a great matchup there in the ground game. The Jets versus the Vikings, another solid matchup against a pretty vulnerable secondary. And Dameon Pierce and the Texans versus the Browns. So a lot of question marks about how that game's going to go with Deshaun Watson coming back, right? Dameon Pierce has been brutal the last 2 weeks. He's got 3 fantasy points in each of those 2 games, but the game scripts were really against the Texans there. I don't know if that's going to be the case this week. I don't know if they're going to have to abandon the run that way. Pierce was so good before that. What do you make of this? I mean, you probably can't bench Jamal Williams right now, right?
Still waiting for that Swift week. Still waiting.
Yeah.
It's hard to bench Jamal Williams right now, man. He seems like he gets in the end zone every damn week. Garrett Wilson's a baller, and Zach Wilson's gone. He's done now. I'm probably on a wait and see. With all these Texans, with Watson and how the offense operates, it's crazy that I'm thinking about benching Dameon Pierce here, but I think I'm going to. I think I'm going to play Jamal and Wilson.
Okay. Josh chiming in from YouTube, and we appreciate when people weigh in on this so we can have the hive mind consensus. He's going to play Pierce and Wilson. I will say this about Garrett Wilson. His stats last week against the Bears look great. That defense is the worst, one of the worst in the league right now. I should know. I've been watching him every week, and it's been tough. One of his 2 touchdowns last week, Garrett Wilson, and 54 of his 95 receiving yards, and I mentioned this in our group chat, came on a big play where the safety went down with a non-contact injury, and Wilson basically had a wide-open field in front of him.
The salt was real.
Look, man, I don't normally like taking away a big play in hindsight that already happened when I'm talking about, well, if this one play hadn't happened, because it did happen. But in this case, the guy just twisted his ankle and fell down, and he just walked to the end zone. And I'm in this case, I'm going to say that without that play, he would have had 4 for 41 and a touchdown, which is still fine. But like, I don't buy the narrative that he's going to be a low end wide receiver 1 now that they've made a quarterback change that unlocked his talent. I just don't think that Mike White is as big of an upgrade over Zach Wilson. The offense is definitely better, and he's got a great matchup against the Vikings defense that's 29th against fantasy wide receivers, but I'm not buying the hype train of, well, now that Mike White's in town, he's going to be a stud every week. I'm like, if you watch that game, he still had an okay day. He's still going to be serviceable, but he's not, 95 yards and 2 touchdowns, I think is a little misleading from that box score. That's all I'm saying. All that being said, half PPR, Jamal Williams right now, the overall running back 10, just like we all expected. Double-digit fantasy points in the past 5 games straight. It's a great matchup. He's the clear early down and red zone back. I am not benching Jamal Williams at this point on a high-scoring Lions offense. I am going to play... I'm stalling for time because I'm going to play Williams and Wilson out of this trio. Saunch, which 2 did you pick?
Williams and Wilson. It feels wrong, like putting Pierce on the bench here, but even if he didn't catch that long touchdown, Wilson still would have outperformed Pierce.
If we saw more game script proof play from Pierce on the Texans, if he was catching passes and if they were leaning on him out of the backfield when they're trying to catch up, I would feel more comfortable. I have no idea how this game is going to go against the Texans. It's a revenge game, if you want to call it that, for Deshaun Watson.
Against the Browns.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I meant the Texans against the Browns.
Yeah.
It's just there's so many question marks. I could see the Browns come out and blow the Texans away and see another 3-point week out of Pierce. Or I could see it be a back-and-forth ground-and-pound game where Pierce has a great day. It's just I would rather bet on more of the same from the Texans. I think that they are the worst team in the league right now, significantly. And I think we're going to see that play out again this week, unfortunately. So, Pierce just not a guy who can succeed in a negative game script the way he's being used in that offense. Yeah? Anything to add on that?
No, I think that's pretty much it. And if Watson comes out and Houston's elite, we got it wrong. But moving forward, you're really happy. Because Pierce will be a problem if they look like a completely different.
If the Browns are
now, I'm freaking. Now you're confusing me.
If the Browns are elite, you're saying.
Sorry, this is my flu game show.
Michael
Michael Jordan,
the post-COVID show.
Yeah.
All right, we got about 10 minutes left here. If anyone wants to give us a call, talk some fantasy football, 618 Fanline. We will be live with you on the air. In the meantime, Darius in California.
Texans
says,
suck.
Are we?
I'll leave it at that. No matter.
Are
who
we
they
starting?
have.
That is some concrete analysis there. Darius says, "Are we starting Christian Watson over Debo? Is it time?" Goodness gracious. I'll start this one off. So obviously Watson is playing against the ghost of the Bears defense, whatever's left of them. The 49ers are playing against the Dolphins, which is a not difficult matchup, but certainly less attractive than playing against the Bears right now. Christian Watson's been a beast. 6 touchdowns over the last 3 games. You can't really bet on that to continue, but he's catching passes.
Last week, 2 weeks.
Yeah, he's catching passes from Rodgers, and Rodgers has done that for receivers in the past where they just catch an insane amount of touchdowns compared to their opportunity share. He's the guy who supports that, unfortunately, as a passer. He's at a 24% overall target share, Watson has, and a 50% red zone target share in the last 3 weeks. So he's the guy when they get into the red zone. He's looked good with both Rodgers and Jordan Love, so there's not really a narrative like, well, if Rodgers sits or leaves early and Jordan Love comes in, he's still going to be good. The Bears defense has decided to trade all of its players this year until it finally got to a place where they can't stop a Pop Warner team, let alone the Packers. So I expect another big day out of Watson. And I actually, a little inside baseball, the league that I play with Josh in, I just traded for Christian Watson from him to kind of hedge my bet a little bit. Because I figure either the Bears are going to come in and stomp the Packers this weekend and I'll be happy and Watson has a dud and I can live with that on my team. Or the Packers beat the Bears and I'll be sad, but they probably did it on the back of Christian Watson, who I now roster. So either way, I'm getting something, right? The Packers aren't going to win that game probably without a good day from Christian Watson. Debo's been a mess. He's questionable. He's got a quad injury. He's probably going to be a game time decision at 4:00. So you have to make this decision at 1, which is tough. His target share has been okay, but his ADOT has gone through the floor basically since CMC came to town. He's kind of back in that role that we saw prior to last season where he's catching short passes, a lot of them, inconsistent production, Last 4 finishes, wide receiver 47, 54, 6, and 65. So Saunch, is it time to move away from Debo in favor of kind of the breakout superstar here in Christian Watson?
Let's just say this. Over 30 points on Dallas is good defense. Over 20 points on the Titans, good defense. Over 20 points against the Eagles. He might go for 40. Yes, you're playing Christian Watson this week. I know I'm the guy who says you don't want to I don't want Debo to go off on my bench, but like the way this guy's been balling out, Rodgers seems like that's his guy. Like there's not too many other guys there. He earned the trust. He's going to get the targets. The Bears defense is Swiss cheese. I'm playing Christian Watson.
Quick question here from Josh. Jacobs, Chubb, or Henry this week for DFS?
What are the prices?
That's a great question. Josh, if you want to look up the prices, give us some context.
Similar?
In the meantime, we have our first call of the day coming in here at the 55-minute mark. I'm going to transfer him over. Hey, caller, welcome to Fantasy Fanline. You are on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
This is Joe from Boston, you guys' number one fan. How you guys doing?
Hey,
Joe from Boston.
up,
Welcome
Joe?
back, buddy. Thanks for calling.
I just wanted to call, wish you guys happy holidays, and quickly just wanted to apologize. Last time I called, I got you guys off the rails with that funny story about my friend and his parents. But I apologize for kind of wasting your guys' time with that one. I got a quick
that was
one for
not
today.
a waste. We enjoyed
don't
so much.
apologize.
And happy holidays to you too, man. It's nice to talk to you again.
Thanks. Yeah, sorry I missed you last couple of weeks. But yeah, I'm still following the Reddit, and I'm still I'm right in the mix of the playoffs. So I need a big win to lock my spot in this week. So I just got a quick who do I start, half PPR, and I'll let you guys run. I know I got at the end here. Thanks for getting me on. So who do you got, Jerick McKinnon or Ty Thank You Johnson of the Jets? Let me know what you think. Appreciate you guys so much.
Hey, thanks for calling, Joe.
Yeah, it's a deep league. Yeah, I'm going to hang up and listen, but thank you guys so much. I'll try to check in next weekend.
All right, man. Appreciate you.
All right, man.
All right, appreciate it. Peace.
Saunch, you want to take this one first? I know you don't, but I'm going to ask you to.
You know I love Jerick McKinnon.
They're going against the Bengals. You just mentioned a few minutes ago that they like to use him.
Yeah,
Yep.
It's Ty Johnson.
All right.
He's gonna have a better role.
He's got the Vikings this week. They are, they're both decent matchups. I think that McKinnon is the better talent on the better offense. But you think that the opportunities for Ty Johnson in New York are going to get the job done this week?
He's gonna get more carries, but McKinnon's the guy who gets those targets. He could fall into the end zone. Honestly, I can't. That's my boy, McKinnon. He won me a league when he was in Minnesota. We were deeply. I was hurt. The roster was hurt. I plugged him in. He scored 2 touchdowns. Screw it. Jerick McKinnon. He's getting in the end zone. Jerick McKinnon touchdown this week. I'll guarantee you that one.
Oh my goodness. I'm just looking at these kind of recent usages. Yeah, Jerick McKinnon had no carries last week, but 6 targets, 3 catches, and we just mentioned how Pacheco is not seeing. He didn't. We know that Pacheco is not getting any work out of the backfield in the passing game. So if it's full PPR, I too would lead Jerick McKinnon. If it's standard or half, not that anybody really plays standard anymore, I'm probably going Ty Johnson.
I have a special place in my heart for McKinnon, so I have to change my pick.
And it's not like Ty Johnson's not getting any targets. He had 2 last week. That's not nothing. It's not great, and they're not Patrick Mahomes targets. I agree with you that I think Ty Johnson's going to be more of a factor, and I think that there's less of a chance of him disappearing in this game.
He had 12.4 yards per carry, but again, Bears,
Yeah, dude, I don't know. I'm looking at this now. I feel like the Jets could get boat raced against the Vikings. What happens if they're down 20 early, 24? Is it still going to be Ty Johnson? Probably not.
And if it ends up being like a shootout with Mahomes and Burrow, it's a game you don't mind playing McKinnon in. So, yeah.
I have arrived at starting Jerick McKinnon in half and full PPR. And if it's standard for some reason, Ty Johnson, but it's probably not. So, Joe in Boston, we would recommend Jerick McKinnon and hope for a high-scoring game? I don't have the over under in front of me, but it's got to be juicy, right?
I haven't even looked, but it's probably definitely higher than Jets Vikings.
Than any game involving the Jets.
Yeah, and I need to start thinking before I say my answer. So maybe I should think first.
No, man, this is part of the process. Conversation around data helps us arrive at conclusions. So that's what we do here, man. You can start talking your way through a process and then arrive at a conclusion. Speaking of data, Josh comes in with the numbers for the running backs. They're all basically the same. So he's right. He basically says prices are relevant this week. So essentially, it's just who do you have ranked the highest out of those three guys this week? For me, I think it's Chubb against the Texans.
Yeah, Henry is a monster, but against the Eagles, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm probably doing Nick Chubb there.
Yeah, I mean Henry's a game script proof kind of guy. They're still going to lean on him to run the ball and maybe a little bit of receiving work out of the backfield if the Eagles jump up early, which I don't think they will. They haven't looked as dominant the last few weeks as they did to start the season. I love Josh Jacobs. He's got the Chargers this week. Oh man, that is a great matchup for running backs.
It really is. He's questionable though.
Yeah, I think Chubb here is the best combination of floor and ceiling this week out of probably any running back in the entire league. So if I had to rank them, I'd probably put Chubb as my running back 1 overall this week. I don't really see a world where Houston gets up over the Browns to the degree where they would have to abandon Chubb in the run game. Like it's not gonna be a passing game.
They could be down 3 scores. They won't abandon Nick Chubb.
They could be, but there's no way they're gonna be. They're not gonna follow this Texans team. I don't think there's a level of dysfunction, even with Deshaun Watson coming back after 700 days of not playing football, where they have to abandon the run.
I'm just saying they could be up 3, down 3. Nick Chubb is part of that game plan.
Yeah. So Josh, we would both play Chubb, I think, in this situation. Second choice for me would be Jacobs. That's playing with fire a little bit, but that's how I feel. Yeah,
I'm with you there.
We have one more mailbag question for the day, then we're going to call it a wrap so you can get to your wedding. Not your wedding, but a wedding that you're attending. Cole Kmet or Tyler Conklin in PPR this week and rest of season. So 2-part question here from Henry in Rhode Island. I think I know how I feel. Saunch, why don't you start us off?
If it's Fields, it's Kmet. Especially we already talked about Alexander over Claypool. Kmet should be in store for a high volume, decent game,
Yeah, Mooney's gone, so Kmet's going to get every opportunity, I think, this week and rest of season. Packers have been tough against fantasy tight ends, but Kmet's not really a high volume guy, and I'm throwing out last week's production with Fields out. I don't think anything in that game was really indicative of how the rest of the season's going to go. Kmet and Fields were really clicking for the few weeks before Fields got hurt, and I'm with you, man. Kmet's going to get every opportunity to kind of buck the trend of tight ends against Packers this week. Conklin has a much better matchup. Does that influence you for this week versus rest of season against the Vikings?
I know the matchup's good, but I want to see Mike White do it against another team that's not Chicago.
Yeah, I don't blame you. Look, Conklin has had more than 3 targets since week 8 when he randomly got 10 against the Patriots. So, I mean, there's no doubt that passing game has looked better with Mike White. They're probably going to have to throw a lot to keep up with the Vikings. So I wouldn't fault you for taking the bet on the matchup this week and kind of playing the game script game and thinking, well, the Jets are going to be down against the Vikings. They're going to throw a lot against the bad secondary. I just don't think that Mike White is that big upgrade to that passing game that some people seem to think that he is. So I'm playing Kmet this week and rest of season over Conklin. I think it's close, though. I think Conklin's a good player. I think that they want to involve the tight end more in that passing game. It just hasn't really played out in any sort of tangible result, unfortunately. Certainly not with Zach Wilson. A little bit with Joe Flacco, but those days are gone.
Let's go Giants.
Let's go Giants. So is that all of our mailbag questions? We got through everything in an hour. Look at us. We took a call. We answered some YouTube questions. Saunch had his flu game.
Thanks for dealing with me at 50%, guys.
Dude,
Appreciate it.
The COVID test says no, but your body's saying yes, it sounds like.
It just it lingers even afterwards. Sucks, but
we're like 3 years into this pandemic now, and I don't think I've had it at all. Knock on wood. I don't know how that's possible, but I might have had it, and I never tested positive, so I can't empathize with what you're going through. I hope you feel better.
Yeah, I'm used to it. It's like my third or fourth time. So
you're a COVID veteran by now.
My immune system hates me, apparently.
Well, I hope you make it through the wedding today, okay, and I hope you make it through whatever the Giants game brings to you this weekend. You have a big bet against Josh Green. You have any final words of trash talk before we wrap it up here? Anything you want to say to Josh and the rest of our
man.
It's
Best
all
of
love,
luck, Josh.
There you go. We love Josh here. We appreciate him and all of our Patreon supporters. You could be one of those supporters at patreon.com/fantasyfanline. We couldn't do this show without you guys. It really helps us keep up with the cost of the show. Obviously, we're an independent show. We're not part of any company. We don't have any sponsors. We rely on our supporters and our listeners. So we appreciate each and every one of you. We'll be back next week with Marvin Eloquent as our special guest. He is a staff writer over at the Fantasy Footballers. We're excited to have him back to answer your questions. And we'll be live every Saturday after that for the rest of the regular season. I think we need to talk about the holidays. They're coming up, but we'll figure something out.
Playoff push, though. We might have to do like a special episode. Those are the playoffs. We can't leave you hanging. We'll figure something out.
We'll see what we can do, even if it's not a Saturday. And even in weeks when we don't go live, we take questions over social media. So you could find us, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. We're at Fantasy Fanline everywhere. You can shoot us a message anytime. We will do our best to help you with your questions as we reach crunch time here in the fantasy season. Visit our website, fantasyfanline.com, for a schedule of our upcoming guests. We just said Marvin next week. And to submit a question to our mailbag if you can't join us live. We talked about the Patreon. Hope to see you over there. Saunch, any parting words here before I play your favorite song and we close the show out?
That's all, man. Let me hear it.
Let's do it. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We'll talk to you next week on Fantasy Fanline. Goodbye.